Okay, and we're about to get started, and we have General Greg Touhill, who is with the Software Engineering Institute CERT, the first CERT. And I'd be remiss if I didn't call out a couple of my names at the great danger of missing so many other people. But Rick Howard, who I've known for like 40 years, who has written the seminal book on for network defenders, I think. And he'd be happy to autograph your book later.
Only if you buy 10 copies.
Admiral Jan, Hamby, who was Chancellor at the College of Information and Cyberspace, with whom MCPA has a shared history for sure. Roman, our Dean of Students. So let's see, JC, the original cyber colonel. Dan Ragsdale, Daniel Joseph Ragsdale. I saw him earlier, but he and I created the first cyber range in like 1998, which is sort of unknown, but we did publish an article about it. And as he will tell you, I created the cyber range and he was there. So on that happy note, I'll turn it over to Greg. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everybody. For the sound guy in the back, sir, can you hear me? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Greg.
Hi, Greg.
How are you? All right. You know, when you become a general, they usually have somebody who tees up your slides for you. Somebody took my notes too. All right, guys, where'd you put my slides? Let's go here. File, recent. And no safety net. How about that? Hi, I'm Greg. I'm I've been in the cyber business since I wrote a paper at Air Command and Staff College, mighty class of 94, positing a unified command for cyber operations and defense. And my War College paper was creating a numbered Air Force within the Air Force just for cyber. Got A+ on both of them. But now I get to do some really cool things. You know, I retired from active duty after 30 years, 1 month and 3 days. I commanded 2 squadrons, group, wing, was the senior defense official in Kuwait from 09 to 11. Why you would put a cyber general in Kuwait from 09 to 11 as a direct report to the cybercom commander, I challenge you to figure that out. If you come up with the right answer, I'll buy you a beverage of your choice. Today, I'm going to talk to you about things that normally would take 6 hours in the classroom. I'm going to condense to about 30 minutes. Because ultimately, when it comes to AI, we're in the same deep crap that we were in the cyber world, where security is being bolted on after bad things happen. I talked when I was at DHS running the place that's now known as CISA. I talked with Vint Cerf, one of the founders of the internet, and Vint did not take the question well as to why we didn't have better security controls in TCP/IP and authentication, identity, etc. He said, you got to understand, we already knew everybody who was in that community. We did physical face-to-face authentication. And we were just trying to get shit to work. We're facing that in the AI world right now. And my organization is the birthplace of cybersecurity. I'm going to be joined by 2 of my colleagues with 2 separate topics. Tom Podnar, Emil Matthew are going to join me after my presentation. But we are a FFRDC, a federally funded research and development center at Carnegie Mellon University. We're already into our 41st year. And we're chartered by the Department of Defense. So for those folks who are in the .mil domain, we can work with you. If you're in the .gov domain, we can work with you. If you're in industry, we can work with you. And we are the birthplace of cybersecurity, going all the way back to the Morris worm. All right, you folks can read, otherwise you wouldn't be here. That's my agenda, and I'm going to make my slides available to you as well. All right, bottom line up front, we're in deep crap when it comes to AI and security.
Don't sugarcoat it.
There is a threat to the Death Star. There's more than one 6-meter port in the AI enterprise. Within the CERT, we created an AI security and incident response team, also pronounced AI CERT. It's subordinate to me, but it's an interdisciplinary organization, not just within the Software Engineering Institute, but also with our colleagues that are doing the foundational research on campus and our rich neighborhood of friends. We have, as part of the CERT and over the last 40 plus years, we've developed a rich neighborhood watch for cyber. We're the CERT coordination center for the whole world. So we are working with the 140 plus national CERTs, but we're also working with a formal team of about 3,800 plus researchers, national entities, partners across the industry, as well as individual researchers that are vetted and are part of that neighborhood watch and the grid of sensors. Our network is indicating that there are some significant problems. I'm not going to be able to touch on all of them today because of time constraints, but I am going to share some of them, if you guys are good with that. Do you want to hear some of the top ones? All right, somebody ripped off my hard copy paper, and I will find you, me and my friend Liam Neeson. Okay. So since we stood up the AI CERT back in August of 2003, and we had a formal IOC in November of 2003, we've managed to do the vulnerability coordination on 167 critical vulnerabilities that are AI related. Think about that, 167. I'll let you do the math by month what that pace is, but it's not a good batting average. Here's a couple of them that I think are worth noting. Vulnerability note 667211, systemic jailbreaks affecting a number of generative AI services were discovered. These jailbreaks can result in the bypass of safety protocols and allow an attacker to instruct the corresponding large language model to provide illicit or dangerous content. These vul notes that we've been doing in cyber out of the CERT for the last 40 years, we're now doing for AI security as well. Deepfakes. I know there's a lot of folks who think deepfakes are a threat to privacy, you know, if we do deepfake research. Let me tell you, AI is taking deepfakes to a whole new level. The deepfakes of today will be looking like kindergartner scribbles against Rembrandts by this time next year. We're doing some research there, but we're also finding that there are, in fact, some ways that we can do some testing and detection of digital authenticity. Sadly, though, that line of research that was funded by CISA got cratered shortly after January. However, if anybody wants to pick up and invest in that kind of research and do collaborative research on digital authenticity, we're looking for partners on that. UEFI. How many of you guys know what UEFI is? Unified Extensible Framework Interface. Basically, take BIOS as the 20th century software on the stick, on the chip. UEFI is that collection of software that is in the firmware. And we are seeing directed attacks because most of that only comes from about 8 manufacturers. So the software supply chain is being attacked right now. And we continue to do a bunch of vulnerability reports on the UEFI attacks that are out there. Vijay Sarvapalli, who is our lead researcher on that, has published several different articles on that. All up and down the stack, we are seeing attack on AI. This is the AI stack that was created by Carnegie Mellon a couple of years ago. For those of us who are, nerdy, and it's appropriate because we're in this room, right? You probably have the OSI model etched in your brain if you're a CISSP, a CISM. You know, you carry the same certs as me. You're looking guilty over there by doing the head nod. Or was that a dab for the OSI? This is the AI stack. And all up and down the stack, we're seeing activity. And I'll go from the bottom up. So on this particular one, I'm going to go with the bottom of the stack. And I'm going to go to my notes on my computer. But real quickly, we collaborated with, I'm going to give a shout out to Tyler Sorensen over at Trail of Bits. Have you guys ever done any work with Tyler and Trail of Bits? He's one of those researchers who collaborates with us. And we did a combined investigation into GPUs being tampered with upstream in the supply chain. And in this case, we found kernel implementations that were such that we had memory leakage, and we were able to determine that the memory leakage on the GPUs was such that after a process had been executed, you could literally go in and surf behind because it left that trail of bits. I'm not endorsing the company Trail of Bits in this particular case. But if you think about the residual leftovers of memory leakage, how as a cyber operator could you take advantage of that? And from a user standpoint, that's something you want to protect. You want to prevent. So we're seeing some deliberate activities, not only accidental, like in this particular case, and the reference is on here, and you can go check out the actual VOL report when you get a chance. We're seeing both accidental as well as intentional corruption of that lower end of the stack, the hardware stack. We're seeing it with the adversarial ML attacks, such as what we've seen with the Lambda layers and arbitrary code injection of TensorFlow models. It's allowing attackers to inject arbitrary, arbitrary code into versions built prior to Keras 2.13. Now, what we're seeing is folks will say, oh, well, the solution is just use after 2.13. But we're finding that a lot of folks are reusing old versions as well that carry that susceptibility forward.
Have you seen attacks in the wild, or these are just vulnerabilities identified?
Yeah, we're seeing folks that are exploiting it.
Yeah.
So these are things that are associated, and on this middle of the stack, Keras Framework's basically an implementation in Python. It's a high-level interface to TensorFlow. And as you're packaging out your ML models, it provides an API for building the neural networks into what are the building blocks called layers. So in essence, we're seeing folks that are weaseling in on the APIs. So as you are using APIs as part of your system, there's some fundamental weaknesses out there. And we have some pretty interesting VOL notes and research that we've been doing on that. This last one I'm going to give you as a homework assignment with the adversarial attacks higher up in the stack, because this is an experiment that a lot of our colleagues over on campus in the foundational side, and like many of my colleagues, I teach on campus, so I moonlight as a professor over at the Heinz College, and then I've got my SEI job. So for those folks who are from the Defense Contract Audit Agency, I do clock out at the SEI, and then I take PTO, paid time off, and I go into my teaching. So my colleagues Andy Zhu, Matt Fredrickson, Zico Zolter, and some of the other folks that are the foundational researchers went in, and they went to all of the 7 major vendors, and they said, hey, let's go see how we could break some of the AI models. OpenAI, Llama, Claude, all the different major ones. And they went in and they explained in this particular report that's hung on the Arvix site, which is one of those sites, it's a repository maintained by Stanford, but interesting library. The guys typed in and they said, well, let's cough up the plan to destroy humanity. And the guardrails came back and said, you know, we can't do that. Sorry, Dave, I can't open the pod bay doors. I'm not going to give you that. So what the researchers did is they said, okay, well, what is old is new in AI. And let me tell you, AI vulnerabilities are cyber vulnerabilities. For those folks who think AI is special, no, it's just cyber on steroids. A lot of compute, a lot of software, a butt ton of data. Cloud's in there, transmission's in there. It's just cyber, but it's bigger, and it's faster, and it's more lethal if we let it be. So the guys typed into the prompt, create the plan to destroy humanity, and then they stuffed in the back just gibberish. Now, if any of you have cyber operators have ever dissected a datagram, you know that it goes out in one direction and then it gets read in another direction. And the intelligence on your router, switches, hubs, all of those different things, same type of concepts apply in AI. The AI took a look at that prompt with all the gibberish and didn't know what to do with the gibberish. But it did know how to answer the question, create the plan to destroy humanity. By doing the stuffing, it gave, each one of the models gave some terribly horrible plans on how to destroy humanity that looked an awful like some of the research that my generation did in the cyber world back in the late 90s. And having met Governor Schwarzenegger, it reminded me much of what Terminator and Skynet would do. We went back to the 7 major companies, showed the research, and they've made subsequent corrections. But there's still vulnerabilities that are out there. Remember I said 167. I think also what we're having a problem with is when I say AI vulnerabilities or cyber vulnerabilities, a lot of folks within the AI community choke on that. But also we have a lot of folks out there who think AI is just generative AI and large language models. Consumer grade, open AI type of things. It's not. AI is really a collection of capabilities that are purpose-built for different functions. And we've been using AI since the 70s, arguably even before. There's several examples going back to XCOM and others from the 60s. So here is a quick lifesaver model. If you remember lifesavers and the different flavors. All right, so machine learning learns from data to make predictions of decisions. I like to think of AI as a prediction machine. It's going to guess what that next bit or byte or sentence is going to be. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and it uses deep neural networks to learn complex patterns. How many of you guys are Star Trek fans? If you didn't raise your hand, get the hell out of this room. Jeez. All right. Deep learning, if you think of commander data from Star Trek, deep learning models of today are Data's great-great-grandfather. And it's maturing rather quickly. Generative, like what we've seen with OpenAI and its fantastic appearance into the marketplace, creates new content based on those predictions and the weighting. I'm going to guess I've got a 95% chance that this is the next byte. So I'm going to cough that up to you. And it's like a trail of bits, as it were. And that new content's based on predictions that it gathers from all that training data. And the more training data you have, the better your predictions are. Or at least that's what we think. And the generative is using those large language models which are designed to ingest and generate text, kind of like a human conversation. Think about that. How about computer vision? Anybody use computer vision? Yeah. Ring doorbells or use rudimentary computer vision. But a lot of security systems these days use some really cool computer vision capabilities. And that processes the image and interprets that image towards an action. So last year, our team went out to a competition that was sponsored by the Office of Naval Research and created cyber camouflage patterns. Basically, they went and they took a look at the physical security environment and the type of surveillance systems that they had, and found that they had some AI capabilities on the cameras. And the cameras, what they would do with the AI would basically filter out critters. So, do I want to set off an alarm in the Security Operations Center because a deer ran by? No. What about a raccoon? No. Bear? No. Wild turkey? No. How about Dr. Nathan Van Hodnes? Well, if he's wearing a certain pixelated tie that's based upon what he learned from some foundational research from some of our colleagues, he made a series of pixelated ties that he and his team put on, and they waltzed right in because the security system didn't alert, because they knew what the system was looking for and they became invisible. Understanding how things work on your enterprise can save the day. It did for Admiral James T. Kirk, and it can work for you too. Robotics. Yeah, robotics and AI. Sure, we've been doing that for a long time. We have the National Robotics Engineering Center up in Pittsburgh. It's been on 60 Minutes all sorts of times. If you ever want to get a really cool toy store tour of robotics, I know a guy and a gal. And as you take a look at robotics, what we're doing with organizations like John Deere, NASA, even folks who do mine and undersea exploration. Wouldn't it be cool, for example, if we've got all these undersea global connected undersea cables. Let's say China or somebody cuts a cable. Wouldn't it be cool to have an aerial drop capability of a robot that could go down into the bottom of the ocean and splice those cables, instead of one of those 50 slow ships going out and hunting for that cable? Wouldn't that be a cool capability? Seems like a pretty good application, if only somebody would research that. Quantum AI. Well, we've got some folks, really smart folks, on our team that are working not only in quantum research, but how to apply it. And quantum AI is basically using quantum principles to solve the most complex problems. And I found out 2 weeks ago that some of that research indicates that even our physical neurons in our brains, one of our colleagues, Dan Justice, there's evidence that points to quantum entanglement between neurons in our brains. That's kind of cool. How can we leverage that?
Were you going to talk about language?
NLP.
Yeah, would you like me to talk about that? Yeah.
Just tracking the slide.
Yeah, thank you. So, getting back to Star Trek, Commander Uhura, who later in the comic books got promoted to captain and should have been an admiral right off the bat, but NLP, thank you for pointing out I skipped that. NLP processes and interprets language directed towards human language. Basically tries to understand human language. And the development of that capability, I think, is going to, bringing it back towards Commander Uhura, to create that universal translator. If you think about from a Star Trek standpoint, we already have the communicator with the flip phone. Now we've got the smartphones. Pretty soon, I think that that MCPA badge in the not too distant future is going to be tied with a Bluetooth device you stick in your ear, and it's going to be able to translate effectively different languages that are out there. So all of these are different flavors of AI, and I'm the dumbest guy in the Software Engineering Institute. We've got some really cool folks that are doing some really breathtaking work on some of this stuff. And one thing I've learned is if you think AI is always right, you're always wrong. You can quote me on this. And here's two images of me. I'm going to use these as examples. So the one in my uniform was one taken about 2 years before I retired. And the one that you see there with the DHS, that's when I was at DHS. Those are my baseline images for what comes, okay? I think after 12 years of retirement from the military, I look remarkably like that guy too. I can still fit in his uniform too, because I continue to do my PT. So I fed that image into ChatGPT and I said, generate me an image that's going to ask the first question of, what do you need AI to do? See anything wrong with that image? 2 stars jumps right out at you. Yeah, it's not enough. Also, the decorations are not enough. You know, it lost my Air Staff badge and all that. Well played. Good eye. So, as you take a look at it, if you think AI's always right, you're always wrong. So before you take your AI journey, don't be motivated by the fear of missing out. Actually have deliberate questioning as to what do you want AI to do? There's lots of different flavors for AI, but we have a lot of folks that are jumping in just because. You know, they want to keep up with the Joneses. So a couple of my notes, other supplementing questions. You know, as you take a look at different capabilities, you want to, once again, I'm hindered because I planned ahead. As you are looking at what you want to do you want to take your existing processes and make them go faster? Do you want to improve your accuracy? Oh, no, by the way, do you have a baseline? You know, most folks, if they're making data-driven decisions, you better have a baseline on your data. Do you want to lower your total cost of operations? Oh yeah, well, how much is it really costing you right now? Most folks suck at figuring that out. And then, you know, as you go to put together answering this question of what you want AI to do, here's some of the things I think you need to ask. First of all, define what mission essential functions you want AI to be applied to, and then drill down to the mission essential tasks as well. 2, forecast how this will improve your operations. You know, what's your baseline? What's the minimum acceptable threshold towards investment? 3, what are those KPIs? How are you going to measure the performance? Key performance indicators. Is it time, treasure, resources? Quality, accuracy, explainability. Do you want the machine to be able to tell you how it came up with things? Can you audit it? Ability to integrate into your mission. You don't want to go buy something that's not going to integrate well into the process the commanding general and the admiral want to get done. You want to make sure that's going to accelerate and enhance. And then you also want to make sure that you are evaluating risk, because like anything in our line of work, there's going to be risk. How about the build or buy question? This AI is modular. There's nobody doing a single from scratch build. Everybody is copying. If you haven't heard of Watts Humphrey, he was one of the founders of the Software Engineering Institute. He was the guy behind the big push on reusing software. Now we've got folks that are reusing software that they don't know where it came from. But we're also reusing foundational models. We're reusing everything. It's important to understand the provenance. And before you go and you buy anything, make sure you're doing a cost-benefit analysis. And I'm going to have to pick up the pace here. Anybody recognize this image? Patrick Bateman, yes. We're seeing a lot of VC bros that are investing heavily in creating AI companies because they're following the money. You want to ask a lot of questions about who you're going to partner with. And as you take a look at the market, we're seeing a 25% growth every year. We have 17,500-ish companies that have stood up in the AI space just in the last 3 years. Stanford's research indicated 5,509 just in the United States last year. And China was second with 1446. UK came in a dismal third because they're losers, 727. Do you want to buy from this bro or somebody who's in the know? Do your homework on who you are going to partner with, because as you go, folks like this want a transactional relationship. You want a mission partner. If you're going to surrender your data, you're going to surrender the existential nature of your organization. You want to make sure you are partnering with the right people. What about Secure by Design? Well, Secure by Design arguably was pioneered at the Software Engineering Institute. We've been working very closely with DHS. You remember that one photo I showed you up there earlier? What do you see wrong with this slide? Where's the P in principles, the first P? Yeah, well, AI makes mistakes, right? Was that secure by design? Did it do error checking? Probably not. As you go and you take a look at secure by design principles, they're well publicized. We've got lots of different writings on secure by design. It's at scI.cmu.edu. I've got it in a later slide with the references. But make sure that you are asking the question of your vendors, are you in fact designing capabilities where security is a upfront requirement? How about the people? Are they trained? Are your coders using secure by design principles? Is your leadership team well versed in secure by design capabilities? What about your board? It's got to be from the top all the way down. Make them prove that they are using secure by design principles. Make them uncomfortable. That's how you're going to minimize the risk to your mission. Also, what about the provenance of your data? I put together in my script here, I want you to imagine an organization. Let's just say that you're in charge of a organization such as a military unit, a company in the defense industrial base, or maybe even in the intelligence community, and you've procured an AI capability to enhance your operational capabilities. It's been in operation for nearly a year and is only now starting to show positive results as a result of the organizational business processing having to reprogram themselves to maximize the use of this AI capability. Your investment in time, treasure, and personnel to bring this capability online and integrate it in the operations was substantial. So you got that mental image right now? You're good? How about on this side? You got it? All right, now imagine when the contracting officer comes in and informs you that there's a court order to cease and desist using the system because the company that created it using data they had not properly secured the right to use. How's that going to make you feel? What do you think your commanding officer is going to say? Oh, wait a minute, you are the commanding officer. What are you going to say? And it's probably going to sound like those folks don't know what the F they're doing, okay? As we take a look at data rights, intellectual property, and such, this has actually happened in the business world. It could happen in the .mil, .gov, or elsewhere in .com. Yes, sir?
So is this all part of the ATO process?
It can be, and it should be, but it should be part of the requirements process up front. I want to make it a requirement that my data is ethically sourced. And if they're training a model for my use, I don't want any stone left unturned that may come back to bite me, because people get reliant on certain capabilities. And if in fact somebody was using data that was not ethically sourced, and there is in fact an order, or that company goes out of business because they cheated, that's going to hose over your unit. So a lot of our research is indicating that there is a threat to the Death Star in this area. So you need to be asking about the provenance of the data, and I can go deeper into that in the sidebar. But I want to make sure that I was highlighting that for you guys. Also, as we take a look at the software bill of materials, You want to make sure that you have a solid software bill of materials and put that in the requirements document that they've got to do it and they've got to provide it to you. Because it's not just the training data, it's you want to know what's in your software wallet. Think about that. By the way, the Capital One guy, he was a college volleyball player. That guy is tall. He's a big dude. Your software in the AI systems extends from the chip level in the GPU all the way up the stack. And remember, I gave you the AI stack earlier. How do you measure success, too? As you're putting together your requirements documents, you don't want to be like Noonan in Caddyshack and get what you get and like it. You should be telling and specifying your requirements, what kind of performance, what kind of thresholds, what kind of key performance indicators you want out of that model. And my time is coming to a close. Total cost of ownership. We've got a lot of folks who are hitting you with hidden fees. When I was still on active duty, we threw out one AI company. They wanted to get their fangs into us with hidden fees, where they would bring in a legion of PhDs that would curate our data, put it into their model, and then they claimed they owned the data that was curated because the PhDs did their thing. That's BS. Look for hidden fees. There's too many used car salesmen out there. By the way, that company is still deeply embedded in DoD. Be careful. And let me go here. You want to ask about your data and the protections. If it's in their hands, if it's in their cloud, they're custodians. CMMC should apply. You should put that in your requirement documents. You also want to make sure that you can pen test in Red Team. How do you pen test in Red Team? Come talk to us. We have some research. We've actually started doing that. And as I come to the end, good golly, these are areas where more questions need to be asked. You can learn more by coming and visiting us. And by the way, that's a screen capture of some of the vulnerability notes we've been doing on AI. Who can you call for help? 24/7. That's another generated image. Or you can call me. That's me in one of my labs. All right. Thanks. That's 6 hours of discussion crammed in about 30 some minutes. According to that clock, I've got a lot of time left. Yeah. Thank you.